Hello, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you being on the webinar with Stuart and myself today, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us. We have people in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and a few other places as well. So thank you very much for being up early or staying up late or staying with us for after work. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to share my slides with you. So today, the web event is about the potential in your firm. So what's your firm's potential and how you can sustainably help and support all of your clients, particularly after what we've seen from the post-COVID effects and the continued COVID effects, actually, as well as being able to understand an element of what that term business advisory actually means. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, and we're going to put the slides on. There we go, hit the play, and there we go. So feel free to jump into the chat. So before we get into the introductions, you have chat and Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to drop into there and say hi, just so that let us know that it's working. So feel free to do that. We'll monitor that as we go through, and use the Q&A as well for any questions that you have. As we go through, feel free to ask questions. We'll do our best to answer them as we go through. There is a Q&A section at the end, so you can jump in then with all of your questions, but we're quite relaxed, so there's no problem in asking a question as we go through, and we'll do our best to answer that. So it's a quick introduction. So I'm Steve Briginshaw. I'm a COO and co-founder of Clarity. Now, if you haven't heard of Clarity, Clarity is an online business advisory platform, as well as, so the tech does the heavy lifting, as well as all of the systems, processes and toolkits to be able to actually deliver sustainable business advisory to all of your clients. So we work with members all over the world. So in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the UK, Ireland, US and Canada as well. So that's me. Good morning and good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Stu, over to you.
Likewise, good afternoon, good evening. Hoping all is well. So thank you for I guess joining us today. My name's Stuart. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I guess I have been part of the furniture here at Futrli for I guess the whole time we've been in market, which has been an incredible journey so far. For those of you who don't know who Futrli are, I guess we're an advisory solution, and we really operate in the cloud space. You know, Futrli allows you to service the client in that, and I love the brackets you use, SD, for advisory, because it's such an ambiguous term that means different things to different people. But if you break it down, it's help, it's support. You know, so Futrli is a tool which really helps you to scale your ability to service clients, whether it's analytics, KPI reporting, if it's forecasting or business planning that you are looking to do for your clients. The different stages of services that you can offer. That is, in a nutshell, is exactly what Futrli can do for you and your firm or your clients. So yeah, look, really excited to be involved today, Stephen. Thank you for having me.
And likewise, and then I think just to reiterate, the fantastic relationship that Clarity and Futrli have, and how well both the platform and the systems behind the scenes work well together in terms of Clarity starting those conversations and visually showing those journeys with the clients, and then Futrli coming in and being able to deliver that all of those tools that's full within the Futrli system to be able to monitor and maintain and help the clients be able to move forward. So really exciting for both platforms to be working together. So yeah, it's great to be here with both of us today. So the agenda. Now, this is very much an educational webinar. There'll be an opportunity at the end to get some help, to learn more, to ask questions. So do stick around to the end, because we'll be sharing some great information throughout this session. But just generally speaking, as an introduction, so we're going to look at what's going on within the accounting profession, what are the challenges that we're facing at the moment, and then we'll look at this term advisory. We'll break that down as we go through, but we'll also look at how we can actually combine the compliance way of working and the business advisory way of working, so that we can have one new business model effectively. And we'll look at examples of how the old way of working isn't necessarily serving us so well as accountants. So when I say us, forgive me, I am a chartered accountant as well. I ran my own firm, been in the profession for 20 plus years, and sold that a few years ago. So yeah, forgive me if I do say we and us when I talk about accountants. So yeah, we're looking at how we can actually improve that business model and sustainably deliver business advisory services or support services, really. That's what we call them internally, business support services to our clients, or your clients more importantly. We will touch on COVID and the response around that. I think it would be remiss if we didn't, because we're still seeing those effects. So we will go through that very quickly, just to give an understanding of where we're at, with the recovery and what's happened and what we can do to help. And then we'll look at how you can actually help your clients to move forward. And then more importantly, putting your oxygen mask on first, how we can help the firm move forward as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the introduction. But just to explain as well, now we all know this, that accounting really, if we think about it, is a time for money profession. So whether you bill on time fees, time-based fees, whether you bill on menu fixed pricing, whether you bill on value, it doesn't really matter how you bill, because at the end of the day, it is a time for money profession, because the team put the time in, you put the time in, and then that creates value for your clients. The challenge that we have within the profession is that the time for money situation has created a vicious circle, unfortunately. And what this is actually meaning for firms is that not only are we time poor, but we also, and this is our team as well, they don't have enough time to do everything, but it then can make us a slave to the firm. Now, I've seen this even with really fantastic forward-thinking virtual FD type firms. They still become a slave to the firm because of where they tend to over-deliver for their clients, as is our nature. One of the unfortunate side effects, I think, of an accountant is that they want to help clients, and they do whatever they can to help, even maybe sometimes they shouldn't. So that happens. We over-deliver for clients. We set a huge expectation, and even if you're charging a lot for FD services, that there's still that huge monster that you've created effectively, because it becomes very difficult to staff and to get the right people in to do it. The team as well, you become a slave to the team because they're relying on you to be able to do the things within, as an owner, they're relying on you to be able to do the things you need to do within the firm. And then ultimately, it's just not a very nice experience to be in, because it feels like you really are a slave. It's another, at the grindstone again, it's not enjoyable. And the challenge we have, and we've seen the statistics over the last few years, and it's interestingly in Australia and in the UK and the US, what's actually happening is the profit per partner is doing this. It is going down. And we'll see some numbers shortly in terms of where the average is at this moment in time. But it's continuing to go down, and it will continue to go down. What's really interesting is that with technology coming in, it's making it easier for us to deliver work, and it's making us be able to do different things, which is fantastic. But then the client understands this too, and their expectation is, well, you can do that at a touch of a button. Why am I paying you $1,000 or £1,000, whatever it would be, to do this particular task, when I know you can just press a button and it comes straight out of zero? Now, that's not quite the truth. We know that. We have to go through disclosure checklists. We have to use all of our experience that we've, and all of our study to be able to achieve what they want to achieve and have compliant accounts. But the truth of the matter is that clients don't value accounts and tax returns, and they want to pay the lowest price possible for that. And that's why we've seen, from a compliance perspective, that the price being squeezed so much, and the profit going down in accounting firms. And then to replace that profit, accounting firms are adding to the top line, so adding more clients, but then therefore they're exasperating that vicious circle, because they're then adding more less profitable work. And because they're potentially working in a way that they've always worked, rather than innovating, potentially, we'll come to that later as well, that the challenges then become even less profitable, because they need more people. So they're putting more people into the mix, because they're adding more at the top line revenue, and they're becoming even less profitable as well. So we've got this challenge that the profit and the revenues aren't what you deserve in your accounting firm. You're potentially a slave to the whole thing, and your team and your clients, and your time staffed, as well as your team. There's never enough time to do everything. So there's definitely a need for new revenue streams. Business advisory, if you want to call it that for now, is one of those opportunities. Everybody understands that, but the challenge is, as we've seen in some of these FD firms, is that you can't scale it. Well, until now, of course, obviously, but the challenge is that it's not easy to scale if you don't have the right systems, the right process, the right people, and the right technology to be able to do that. Because typically it's on the owner of the firm, the leaders of the firm, to be able to deliver that advisory service. Therefore, it comes with a high ticket price. And as a result, only a small percentage of the client base actually gets the advice, not everybody. So that's what we've partnered together with Clarity and Futrli to be able to get 100% of the client base, the business owner client base, to be able to get an element of advice delivered by anybody of the client-facing team to be able to do that. So Stuart, I know you wanted to share some information here as well.
Yeah, I just think to your point, you know, I think it's incredibly, you know, to be able to reflect and look at, you know, again, I know we're going to come to COVID, and I don't want to jump too far ahead at this point in time, but the amount of scope creep and the amount of additional work which cannot be billed for in theory at this point in time has probably never been as big as it has been in the industry for decades. And, you know, not having the right structures or processes in place, and as you said, still working in a business model which was working years ago before the introduction of new processes, new technology. You know, I think it is, as you said, it then becomes more about filling up the top of the bucket. And I think because there's definitely some instabilities in other areas, then it kind of doesn't really give the outcome that people necessarily desire or think that the outcome is going to be what it is. Because as you said, there's a lot more work that's involved. There's a lot more expectation now from an SME's perspective in terms of what they do seek from their accountant, what they find valuable, what they find just part of the job. You know, it's not necessarily something they see as time consuming or actually a big part of actually the service that is provided. And yeah, you know, I think in terms of being able to grow other revenue streams in a business, not just compliance, is definitely, I guess, the way that, you know, accountancy firms nowadays are having to pivot because of the structures that are in place from a historical perspective. Now, for the record, just for everybody, I know I work for Futrli, but I do come from practice, and I did work there for a while. So I have worked there, and I've gone through those time-consuming exercises, and, you know, not having enough time and having to bill clients and write time off where, you know, we've had to do extra work, which we haven't been able to get paid for whatever reason. And I know there'll be a lot of people joining the call today in that situation. So, look, it's definitely one of the biggest challenges at the moment. And scope creep seems to be, I guess, the term that I always hear from clients that I speak to, you know, who are wanting to trying to change things for themselves.
Absolutely. And well, we actually run a mastermind for accountants as well. And we're seeing that as the biggest challenge. And this was the topic last week, actually, scope creep, in terms of how do we actually deal with that. And we will cover some of that on the session today. So to make sure that everybody's got their eyes open and they have the ability to then action something to help implement that within their firm. Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you, Stuart. Well, leading on from that, you know, let's look at what has worked and what has worked in the past. So traditionally, this is how I was brought up. I'm sure, Stuart, you were the same. And most people probably are on this session today. We were brought up in that mentality of, if you're going to run an accounting firm, what you need to do is work on the third basis. So 33.333% goes on salaries, another third goes on overheads, and what's left is available for partner profits. Sounds simple, sounds fantastic. Trouble is, this model was built like many years ago. You know, in the 80s, it was working fantastically well. Not so good now. So it isn't a very old business model that had its day and definitely did work, absolutely, when it was just a very heavy compliance-based mentality with accounting and with what clients wanted. And effectively, clients had no choice. Back in the day, that accountants could pretty much charge what they want. Certainly the stories I've been told anyway, from back in the 80s. But what we've actually seeing, so what's happening at the moment is we're seeing this situation. So 50%, this is on average, so some are higher, some are lower, but on average, 50% of revenue spent on salaries, roughly about a third, just over a third on overheads, but that leaves only 15% available for partner profits. So it's a huge difference, absolutely huge. And as we said, it's only going to get worse, unfortunately, because the clients don't value compliance at all. Even though we've spent, and our teams have spent ages processing them, doing disclosure checklists, going through all of the tax regulations that we need to go through, the client doesn't appreciate that, and they don't really care. At the end of the day, they just want their accounts filed and their tax returns filed. And the interesting thing, and this is what I used to get told many years ago, was that I see accountants as agents for the tax authorities and the government. They don't see that business owners don't, it's not everybody, but this is what I have heard, is that from business owners, I just see my accountant as an agent for the government. He doesn't really work for me. I just pay him to make sure that everything's hunky-dory and goes in when it's supposed to and everything looks right, which is really interesting. I mean,
I think sorry to interrupt you, Steve, but I think the interesting part of that is that's so far from the truth and what is actually available to most of these people, but they maybe don't ask the right questions, or they don't know to ask the right questions, or they don't know the services potentially available. Bearing in mind this person who is this agent for the ATO or the government HMRC, wherever you are in the world at the moment, the skill set and the experience is definitely there. It's really unlocking that potential and being able to introduce it in a way which isn't going to put them off, isn't going to scare them, and it's not a price-focused conversation. It's very much more about the value that can be gained from actually sitting down and opening the doors, as it were, and actually explaining a lot more that's going on within the business to that service provider, which is over and above the ability to tick a few forms in terms of taxation and compliance.
Absolutely. And again, so we're running a super user series between Clarity and Futrli, and we recorded one of the sessions this week actually, and the accountant was saying to us that it just kept coming up in the conversation. It's like a podcast effectively that we've recorded, very light conversation, just going through certain areas, like in terms of what the firm used to be like, what it's like now, what are the keys. And the thing that kept coming out was conversations, that we need to be having more conversations. And the more conversations we have, the more we're able to help and the more profitable the firm becomes. So you hit the nail absolutely on the head, I think, Stuart, with regards to that, is that the clients need to understand, one, you're on their side, two, that you have other means of helping them, letting them know what other services you can actually deliver. And when the clients understands that, because we've all probably seen clients pay thousands of dollars or pounds for a business coach, for a consultant, to go to a brand accelerator event, whatever it would be. And we're thinking, well, why could have just spent that with us as the accounting firm? We could have helped them with that. So they just need to know about it. So it is literally, when you're speaking to your clients, speak to them as much as you can, and then let them know what's actually possible. And the other interesting thing that came up is that the price conversation tends to be in our own heads. And the blocker is, the clients are sensitive to compliance. They're price sensitive to compliance, so they won't buy anything else. Well, again, time and time again, we've seen that that's not the case. When they're given the opportunity to buy something else that they see as valuable and obviously a good return on investment, then they will buy it. So it's not all driven from the compliance. So it's a really interesting mindset shift, moving away from that whole compliance mentality and having more of a relationship. And so instead of being transactional, more relationship based with the clients. So yeah, really good points there, Stuart. Thank you. So this is the average. This is what we're seeing. So a huge drop in profit per partner. And unfortunately, it's just going to get worse unless something's done about it. Obviously, we all have the ability to act. So we hear this myth all of the time. Compliance is dead. We've been hearing this probably for decades, to be honest, that compliance is dead. No, compliance isn't dead. Yes, there are robots, if you want to call them that, coming in to do an element of the job. So it's become streamlined. So throughout the years, throughout the ages, we've seen changes in innovation and new technology coming to help with bookkeeping and help to produce reports. So that's helpful for us, helps create efficiencies, means that the team do something different. They retrain potentially and do something different. And then it gives us an opportunity to do other things to help a client. So compliance definitely isn't dead. So what else can we offer in addition to compliance? Well, this is a survey. It was conducted a little while ago, but I still think it rings true, and probably even more so now with what's going on with COVID and the amount of contact that clients have had, and either directly phoning accounting firms or you phoning your clients, as ultimately they just want a trusted advisor. And what does that mean? It means different things to different people, but really just someone in their corner to help them make better decisions, or the right decisions, really. I think that's my interpretation of that. Just being able to make the right decisions within the business. And as accountants, we're skilled with numbers, and so are our team. So we can then, and numbers are the language of business. So we're in a position to actually really help deliver that clarity to business owners so that they can make better decisions. And as a result, have a better business, have a better life for them and their family and their team, and then ultimately contribute towards a better world. So we are in a fantastic position to deliver all of these things. Now, to deliver all of them, we can't work in the old way. We can't do that because this is going to be either really team intensive, and then we don't have a business. And again, we can't operate in the old way because again, we wouldn't have a business because we couldn't actually build these relationships. So we need to look at how can we build a different business model to be able to do this. And really, it's about, again, I mentioned it earlier, bringing technology, people and process together, getting the technology to do the heavy lifting. It's not there to replace people. It's there to make the job easier, it's a tool effectively to help do certain things. And we'll look at that shortly in a moment. So to be able to deliver all of these things to every single client, we just need to think a little bit differently and look at what else is available to help us do that. So compliance definitely isn't dead. So what are we talking about? Well, it's taking the compliance business model and the business advisory business model and bringing them together effectively. So you could think about it as two different departments within one firm, if that helps. Or if you have that strategic mindset, you may be able to see things as that whole business works together hand in hand. But that's the whole idea, is about bringing it together so that we can still service. So we're not saying stop compliance. We're saying that that machine needs to keep on turning, and we need to make that machine as efficient as possible so that we can get some profit out of it. And unfortunately at the moment, well, whether it's unfortunate or not, depends on how you look at it. But the only way really to make money, good money from compliance, is to have like the EasyJet effectively, no thrills type service, cheap, low cost, but high volume service, so that you can still make good money from compliance. There's still money in it, don't get me wrong, but there's certain things that we can do where we don't need to go to that lens to just make it better. But a quicker win will be being able to actually support our clients as we go through. So what does that look like? Well, this is what we've seen in other firms. Just to whiz through this quickly, just to give you some perspective, what's actually possible is that instead of a third of revenue being spent on salaries, we've seen firms that are spending 20%, and then roughly 2/5 on overheads, and then again roughly 2/5 available for partners. So this is a huge difference in comparison to what the old compliance methodology, and a giant leap from what is actually happening. So you can see that that's 300% better than that 15%. And the interesting thing is it's scalable. So this is what firms are being able to do, and to make it scalable. Now, how are they doing that? Well, what they actually have available to them, as we said, business advisory services. Now, I will go through this in more detail later, but what I wanted to share with you here was the ability to be able to price. So there's 5 levels of business advisory that we've identified, and we'll go through those later on in the session. But I just wanted to share with you some pricing in terms of what the firm can deliver. And you can see on the screen that there's not much prep time. There's not much actual time involved in that being able to deliver this. Again, you're using Clarity and Futrli to do the heavy lifting, as well as getting the data out of Xero or whatever your bookkeeping software actually is, and going from there and being able to price that. And you can see that we've got suggested prices. So what we do in Clarity, as we said, it's not just a tech platform to be able to have a visual conversation with the clients. We have behind the scenes all of the systems, processes, toolkits, template agendas, and everything that you need to actually have that conversation, price those services that you can deliver as a result. So when you demonstrate the value and show them how much profit and cash that they can improve, and then how you can actually deliver those services. So we've created all of those systems for you. So you can see that there's not a lot of work and stuff, as Stuart said, you're probably doing already, where you can actually get paid for it this time. The two most popular packages that we see, if you want to call them packages or service lines that we see that our members delivering off of the back of moving those few levers, those sliders in Clarity, is insight and planning. And this is where Futrli can get involved to actually deliver those extra insights and do that extra planning as well. So you can see that it's priced fairly competitively. We'd suggest not going below that. These are the prices that our members are actually selling these services to their clients. So the most popular one that we'll use for this example, because we've got an example coming up, we'll use the Insights one. That's $400 there. So just to give some context, and appreciate that we've used Aussie dollars here. If that isn't your country, we'll show you in a moment how you can put your own numbers to this, just to give you some examples. So let's go into a what-if situation. Let's go to a what-if example. So let's just say, for argument's sake, without your whole client base, so you're looking at every single business owner client, let's say, for argument's sake, you've got 100 of those clients. What's possible for the 100 of those clients that actually want some support? So regardless of whether you have 500, 1,000 or 50 clients, you'll see this as an example, and you'll be able to put your own numbers to this shortly. So just bear with that. Just you see this as an example, and we'll show you how you can put your own numbers in. But what we're saying is, let's just say of your whole client base, if there were just 100 clients that wanted actual support and help from you to improve and or grow their business, then let's use that number as 100. Now you can use your own numbers, as we said shortly. If it's lower, you can just change the number. But what we want to do is show a what if scenario, what is possible potentially for the firm and for the clients. So we're going to add an average fee, so that $400, that's where that $400 comes in. So if we had 100 clients from our whole client base that wanted some extra help, and if we were able to help them and they agreed to pay $400, and you're probably thinking, yeah, all right, will they actually pay that? Again, once you go through clarity, you'll be able to, the client can clearly see the value in terms of the extra profit and improvement that you can deliver for them. So whether it's £20,000 or dollars or 50,000 or 100,000, whatever it would be, they can clearly see you're showing them the value of working with them. So it's a fantastic opportunity to get them a great ROI by providing a service at $400. So there are different rules and means that you can use, but it clearly shows the client. And this is actually happening now with our members. And some of these figures, excuse me, you'll see are based on what our members have gone through. So let's do the math quickly. So gross recurring revenue, we've got 480K there in dollars, whatever it would be in your currency if you're not in Aussie dollars. So that's fantastic. Now we've got extra revenue. Great. So we've spoken to those clients. We're able to help them. How do we help them now? My team's flat out. You were saying earlier, Steve, that we don't have any time. How are my team actually going to be able to help them? Well, absolutely. If your team don't have the time, we do operate on what we call a net time basis, where that means no extra time. So there are possibilities for your existing team to actually provide these services and to have conversations with clients, because they're already doing it effectively, as Stuart said. There's that scope creep in there, but there are ways that you can instigate that within your existing team. But if you're saying, oh, actually the team have no time whatsoever, I couldn't put anything else on them, or potentially have great accountants, but I just wouldn't put them in front of clients to have relationships because they're not that way. They don't like speaking to people. Absolutely fine. Everybody's different. So what you can do is potentially hire somebody to do that work for you. So for an example, after you've included social security costs and pension costs, whatever else, and included a salary, let's say it's 120K in Aussie dollars for a person to be able to deliver that. Now, just delivering this service, though, we're saying that a clarity insight service, where we've actually crunched the numbers, saying that if you have one person focused just on delivering that clarity insight service, so no compliance whatsoever, they're just focused on delivering that, they will be able to service at 80% capacity easily 100 clients per month. So yeah, we've done this with our member. It blew our minds as well. So it's like, wow, that's just huge. So that's why we've got one person's salary in here. You can change these numbers if you don't feel comfortable with that. That's fair enough, no problem at all. But we have crunched the numbers with our members, and this is what we came to. So that now you've got a gross contribution of $360,000, which is just phenomenal. Where when you're thinking about that level of return that's happening in the compliance side of things at this moment in time. Now, yes, let's just say, for argument's sake, there are some additional costs. There's some training, there's some new systems, there's some support systems that need to be paid for to actually enable this to happen. Yeah, there may well be. So that still gives us an extra $320,000 of net profit. So this is what's possible. This is what's possible for your firm. And what I'll do, I'm going to stop sharing the screen now, and I'll share with you a calculator that we've created with Futrli. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and then I'm going to share this screen here. There we go.
I think just to interject while you pull up the spreadsheet, I think obviously, in terms of what is achievable or numbers, It's always circumstantial. It's going to be completely related to your current portfolio of clients, what you currently charge. And I think where the calculator in front of you now that Stephen's going through will actually be a major eye-opener is when you actually plug in your total client numbers, your current revenue base, all of the things that it's going to ask you to do. When you really start to understand and see what is achievable, really starts to get you thinking. And I want to come back slightly just to conclude what I'm talking about to one of the slides a moment ago, which is what do our SMEs want from our accountants, and what is this new service line that they expect, and what don't they value and what do they value. And I think what often happens, and again, I speak from speaking with accountants all of the time, all over the country, in various countries, from Manila all the way through to the west coast of America. Not often do accountants typically look at themselves as small businesses or medium-sized businesses, and what do they want from their job? Why do they get up, and what gets them, what motivates them, and what would they like to be able to do when they're actually shut off from work? Is it family? Is it a hobby? And I think if you look at the opportunities that this potential work can start to, I guess, snowball in terms of the opportunities you have, having that internal reflection on yourself and saying, well, where am I at? Where could I be? And what's really stopping me from getting there? Treat yourself like you want to treat your SMEs, and it becomes a lot more organic and a lot more natural for you to have those conversations because you've had the internal reflection on your own business. And Clarity in Future are going to help you have the same conversation, but with them. And I think that's really where the kind of the penny drops, so to speak.
You're absolutely right. And I think it's the nature of accountants that we put other people first, and it's admirable, and we just want to help because we know we can. But yeah, I'm coming back to that old saying, we need to put our oxygen mask on first before we help others. So true, Stuart. You need to, by having that time to look at your own numbers and why you're doing certain things in the business, why are you getting up in the morning, as you say, gives that reflection in terms of, well, actually, I wonder what we could do. We're not necessarily saying we have the answers right here, right now, but what could we do? And let's go out and find the answers. And between us, we can find the answers to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Absolutely.
100%. And I did a webinar with a gentleman who looked at Futrli 2 years ago, didn't make a decision because he kind of wasn't quite ready, but then eventually made a decision. And he was really transparent and honest in his thoughts and feelings when he was looking at the cost of getting started with us, knowing that his portfolio size was really small. So he was immediate, like, okay, well, this is an investment. I need to make sure I allocate time to learn it. I need to make sure I get it off the ground. However, fast forward 12 months now, he said it was a no-brainer. I don't even know what I was worried about. And it was because he had that internal reflection in himself. He could see the opportunity that was in front of him. And it just took a little bit of time for things to pick up and get momentum because, of course, you have to go through the process of speaking to individual clients, availability, who's ready, who's not quite ready just yet. But that ongoing repetition, this new way of thinking, this new environment enabled him to be able to get to where he's at now 18 months later. And he said, okay, it was a little bit scary at first, but you know what? Same way that you want your clients to commit to your services, you also need to be able to commit yourself to make the change for yourself, and that inevitably is going to make the dominoes fall.
Absolutely. And you speak from a place of authenticity as well. Absolutely, because when you're working with your clients, you can say, well, this is what I did, this is what we did, or we've helped another client do this. These are the types of results that we got. You may get the same results. Let's give it a go. So absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's just stopping and having that time, as you say, to reflect and look inward. Now, I've entered the figures. Now, you can get a copy of this. We'll explain towards the end how you can get a copy of this spreadsheet. As accountants, we all love spreadsheets. We absolutely do. The HTML version of this is in development, so it will be live on the website. When, I don't know, so don't wait for that. Just get stuck in. We'll give you a copy of this so that you can put your numbers in as well. So as you can see, what I did, I've put my firm's numbers, so based on the data that we've taken from our average members, and put those figures in the now. So that's what you saw on the slide with the numbers from our members that have shared their numbers with us, obviously, because this is this is just yours. It's all anonymized. So your numbers go in here. So we've got the now section. Now over here is where the potential comes in. So this is where you can work out what is actually possible. Let's just say, for argument's sake, for this particular business, there's 250 business clients. And let's say, for argument's sake, that says 40% of those clients will actually want some advice, some extra help, some support to actually improve and grow their business. And then, as we said before, let's say for argument's sake, there's an extra 40K's worth of costs. So that gets us back to where we were with the increases for the previous business. So as you can see, on this slide or on a spreadsheet, so use this, put your own numbers in. So if you don't believe us, if it feels too magical, yeah, all right, this looks fantastic. Yeah, not in my firm. You may be thinking that. I understand if you've got some skepticism. Just put your own numbers in and then just see what comes out. But have an open mind. Just see what's possible, and then just start speaking to clients and see what's possible. And as we said, we'll explain at the end how we can actually help support you to be able to do that as well, and send you some more information. So we can see that for the old business model, net profit of 20%. The new business model, or the additional business model, if you want to call it that, is 2/3, 67%. So now we've improved the whole. If we look at the business as a whole, it's just phenomenally better. Everyone's happy. Profit per partner is obviously a lot higher as well. And the team are probably feeling more engaged because they're doing more meaningful work. And then what we can see over here, we've got an increase in 40% in revenue and 133% in net profit, which is just phenomenal. So I urge you, definitely play with this. We'll send it to you. Just let us know, or explain later how you can get it. Let us know if you want it. We will send it to you, and then you will be able to put your numbers in and have a play, and then see what's possible within your firm. So if it's a little bit too magical for you, we get it. We understand. Put your numbers in and have a play, and then away you go. They are based on our members' numbers, so they have come from somewhere. So let me jump back into the slides. I'm going to share the screen if it's going to work. There we go. Okay, so we've got just a reminder here of what we saw on the spreadsheet. So it's just a completely, so if you look at the two business models separately, so you've got the original compliance model, you have this business support services or business advisory services, however you want to call it, you've got that in the middle as well. And when you put the two together, it just makes more of a whole for the whole business, and really drives things forward for the clients, don't forget. So the gas mask, putting your oxygen mask on first, is helping the firm increase that revenue and profitability. So increasing revenue is fine, but it needs to be profitable revenue. And then you're in a better position to actually go and help your clients as well. So we need to talk about COVID. Absolutely. It's been a crazy world the last 6 months or so. What we've seen is effectively three different phases of what's going on with regards to how the world has reacted and what's next effectively, and how accountants have been helping their clients as well. So we had this initial shock phase where everyone was all hands on deck, everyone was firefighting. The hours that accountants did and their team was just phenomenal. It was like they were an extra emergency service. It really was. Have you seen the same, Stuart, as well?
It's been like speaking to people over here. I mean, I think the two governments, or the three governments for the Kiwis, and maybe even the US as well, if there's anyone from the US joining us, I think the governments all handled it in their own way. And some did better than others, I think. And I think, the different markets, I mean, obviously being a UK citizen, I have family and friends in the UK, and of course head office is UK, but I work and live in Australia. So I also had a lot of exposure to what was going on this side of the world as well. And just some of the hours, some of the requirements of just the additional work was just people really grinding themselves into the floor. So I know that school holidays recently, particularly in Australia, were very, very much, welcomed, and for people to be able to properly switch off and relax. But you're right, it was very much a reactive shock. No one could have really, foreseen what was going on. But I hope the element of education, well, I know the education, the payoff from what happened, the educational side to small businesses who were in situations where they had no plan, they had no visibility, they were working or operating week to week, month to month, has definitely paid dividends for the people that we're talking to today, because there is now this resurgent or increased knowledge and awareness that actually you've got to be looking forwards a little bit, 2 or 3 months, 6 months at most, if that's all you can really feasibly do. But yeah, just crazy situation that everyone found themselves in. And I tip my hat to anyone's service with large practices, and having to deal with the insane amount of inquiries that they would have been getting from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was phenomenal. I said hugely admirable and some doing it for free, just because they knew that in their hour of need that the clients needed that help, and obviously they'll never forget that. So cash flow forecasts, plans, loans, job keeper or job retention, depending which country you're in. Just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So the next stage after that, so once that initial shock was dealt with and everybody's trying to catch their breath, then there's this recovery phase that we're probably maybe still in at the moment, is this survive to thrive stage. We're taking those early wins that we've had with the clients and that grounding, that foundation work of getting them set up, giving them a plan, looking at their business model and building upon that and getting them ready to be able to launch forward when we get to that sort of recovery, that complete recovered stage. And some businesses had to go into hibernation because potentially their sector was closed down by the government, so there's not much they could do. So at that point, they're getting ready to move forward. And that's probably where we are in the UK. We're still in that recovery phase. I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but we're seeing businesses coming back. So some did remarkably well, regardless. And now we're seeing others coming back as more is opened by the government. So that's probably where we are right now. The next phase is what we call it the green line strategic reset, or the green line. This is where we're getting ready to reset for growth and being able to be positive and see opportunity and be able to move the business forward after we've got through the recovery phase. And as Stuart was saying, the work that accountants and their team have done over shock and recovery, because this is the challenge we're at now. When we were speaking with accountants, we're fortunate enough to be on round tables and run our own masterminds and have our members. So we're speaking to accountants all the time, all over the world. When we're speaking with them, their first phase was they were overwhelmed, but they felt like they were doing the right thing. So they were happy to do it. In recovery, we're still seeing that they're overwhelmed, but in addition to that, we're seeing that they're exhausted now. And the team, so not just physically but mentally. So we know that it can't carry on this level of service. So now it's great. The clients know that they're coming to their accountant for help, which is fantastic. Whether you can charge for that is a different matter. Definitely a conversation by client, by firm basis. So we won't get into that today. We could probably spend all day talking about that. But that now we were looking at this point of, well, how do we sustainably help our clients? Our clients want us to help them, and we want to help them, but how do we do it sustainably? Because right now it can't carry on. Someone's going to break, and we can't have that happen, physically or mentally. We need to look after our team, look after ourselves. So how do we do that? So that's the challenge that we're at the moment within the profession. I think certainly from listening to our members, you may have seen the same, Stuart, as well. Is being able to do that. And one of those ways is, as we said, we go through, as what we're doing in the session today, is taking your clients through this support service approach and being able to improve your firm and create that separate business model so that you're able to support everybody as well. So just looking at from a COVID perspective, where we were initially expecting, or so the economists told us, a V shape. It's definitely looking more like a U shape in whatever country that you're in. Who knows how long it's gonna last? But the point is, we need to be ready for that ups the curve, and to be ready to help not just the firm but also our clients as well. So I just wanted to share that with you as well, so that we're ready and being able to better support our clients as we move forward. Now, what are the challenges our clients face? You've probably seen these before. If you look at any statistic, any report, generally speaking, the overwhelming favorite in terms of why businesses fail is that they run out of cash. So they either don't have enough or aren't able to get funding. That's the reason why. Now, really, if you think about it, that's the symptom. It's not really the cause. It's the symptom as to why they fail. And my personal belief, it'd be interesting to get your take on this, Stuart, as well, is that the reason they fail, the cause, is actually they don't have a clear plan. Now, when I say plan, I don't mean a 50-page, business plan that they have to do for the bank and stick in the drawer and never see again. What I'm thinking about here is a financial plan, effectively looking at the business model, comparing budget to actual, that type of thing. Because if businesses have that, and it's so basic, but if they have that, they can see how they're making money, they see what volume they need to get the profit, and know their break-even points, that all the good stuff that we all know as accountants. If they have that as a business model, as a plan, a blueprint to follow, they will then easily see what's going on, and they can compare, having a dashboard to keep alerts and see what's going on to be able to move forward, and just simply comparing that budget to actual. So these are the challenges that small businesses face. In addition to that, and we probably see this all the time, is that they don't understand the numbers. Mostly small business owners, I think, is the numbers are like Marmite here in the UK. Is it Vegemite in Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's, people either love it or hate it. It's numbers are the same. This is my viewpoint, and that business owners, that even if they do love numbers, they just don't have the time to look at them. And just sending them a report, even though it is helpful, sending them a report of each month to letting them know what's going on, the likelihood of them reading it and understanding it is very low. Because if you think about it, the clients are going after new customers, they're looking after their existing ones, they're doing all of the other 101 things that a business owner needs to do. Looking at the numbers is not, although it should be high on their list, as we know as accountants, it isn't. And we've seen statistics that the success rates aren't great of businesses. So we know that this is a challenge for them because they just don't have time. And sometimes they're scared of their accountant. They don't like to admit that they don't understand something. So again, it is up to us to be able to speak to our clients more, actually have conversations about reports and explain what they mean and suggest next steps. That's the important thing. We can interpret this information. And VUCA world, that just stands for, it's just crazy right now. It's the things that are going on, particularly even before COVID, to be honest. The business world's changing hugely, particularly accounting with technology and what's happening with the compliance world as well. It's even more crazy right now. And for business owners, as I said, they have 101 million things to do each day. They do need help. They need that support, that trusted advisor that they said that they wanted. We need to be able to support them. And I mentioned very briefly, that we have accountants and our team have this skill that we can understand numbers, interpret them, and explain them. So we are able to help clients to understand the numbers and then take the next steps, most importantly, to be able to improve them or maintain them. And it was Prince Charles actually said this at an ICAW, so an Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, dinner a few years ago, which, referring back to a speech he said a few years before that, was that he believed accountants can change the world. He really believed that because of their skill with numbers, and numbers are the language of business. So we have this opportunity to really unleash our superpower and our superpower within our team to be able to help.
I think it's a really interesting when you look at the lack of knowledge in predominantly small businesses, family-run practices, mum and dad. As businesses start to grow, they inevitably need internal finance functions to keep the wheels ticking over. But not a lot of businesses can afford it or understand the value that particular person within the business can bring. Therefore, the reliance is always on the accountant. And I think, someone said to me recently, the accountant and client relationship is very much like a normal relationship if you eliminate the business aspect of it, where you want your partner, your confidant, whatever word you wanted to describe this person, you want them to be able to challenge you. Just because you feel or you fear or you're confident or you're happy, to be able to be corrected, or actually to for someone to have the trust to be able to say, actually, you know what, that's maybe not the right case, or actually, have you actually considered this? And I think in reference that to a small business, when you try and educate them about their numbers or send them reports, it's often met with, I know what my sales are, if I could get more, I would do it. But it's not until you can actually see it on a piece of paper, and once you've understood it, that then again the wheels start to turn about the what is possible. And I think to the point, today, the calculator for our audience today, that is what's achievable potentially. It's probably going to need a little bit of work, and it's certainly not going to happen overnight, but it still is achievable and it still is a possibility. And I think if you are treating your clients in the same way and talking to them about their business's opportunities, what do they want to achieve next year? When do they want to give themselves a pay rise? They're the types of questions that small businesses typically don't have the answers to if you ask the right questions. Mm-hmm. So being able to then plan, or at least hold them accountable, is part of this process of adding support to the bow of the services that you offer over and above the basics. And I think what you said before about, the additional work and the additional contact that most accountants have had with pretty much the whole portfolios over the last 3 months, where they would maybe only speak to that person once or twice a year, it's a perfect opportunity to actually sit down with them, give them a metaphoric cuddle, and actually say, things will be okay, but you've got to let me help you, and you've got to let us. We've got to start to look forwards and not just constantly be reactive and looking backwards, because it's really not going to give you, help you achieve your goals and dreams. So there's definitely something to be said about the lack of understanding, but I think the opportunity that COVID has presented itself actually it can be turned into a favourable experience.
Absolutely. And bang on, Stuart. Absolutely. I think the fantastic thing is we're able to show the client their potential as well. You know, by using marginal gains theory, so moving lots of different levers by small amounts, we can show that it actually has a huge impact, a huge improvement in profit and cash for our clients. So taking them through that clarity journey and then leveraging the power of Futrli and the accountability within clarity to then be able to really keep on top of that, to measure and track, and to then really hold the client accountable. Because we've seen a study that was conducted in California, a university in California, that showed that if you have someone external from you hold you accountable, and you have written down goals and you send them to that person, you will accomplish 78% more, which is just huge. And because we're accountants, we're skilled in numbers. Numbers are the language of business. The stuff that we'll be getting our clients to do will effectively be the right things. So those goals, they'll effectively be the right tasks to complete, if you think goals as tasks. So then not only will they actually accomplish more of the right things. And being able to show the client that visually, it's just so important. So as you say, we're already, or accountants and their team already having these conversations. It's just about showing them what's possible, what really is possible within their business. And maybe it's not right now because of the effects of COVID, but it's showing them that we need to build a plan. So once we're out, this is what's possible for your business, and this is how we can help you get there. I think it's a huge opportunity to be able to do that for sure. Cool. Okay. On the screen, you've got 5 levels of business advisory. I said I'll explain what these are. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We actually have a whole session on this separately. But what you can see is instead of business advisory just being a nebulous term, we put some context to it. And what typically happens is when people think about business advisory, they think about management consulting. So that actually sits at the top. And only the right types of people would deliver that. So if you've got the business acumen, the business experience, and you've got the clients that want that service, and generally speaking, that comes with a big ticket price, because it's the leaders of the firm that are actually delivering that, or potentially a separate consulting department, or this could be corporate finance, it could be wealth management, financial planning, whatever else that you are able to do, even detailed tax advice, that effectively fits at the top there in consulting. So you can see that there are 4 steps that lead up to consulting, and these 4 steps anyone in your team can help you with. So this is how we wanted to show visually that you can bring your team into this. No longer is it just the leaders of the firm or the more senior people in the firm who only can deliver business advisory services. There are 4 other levels where you can get all of your team involved. So awareness is literally just taking them through clarity, making them aware of what's possible. And where are they now? Where could they get to with small marginal gains? Look at that improvement on profit and cash, and then helping them build an action plan to actually get there. So that's the awareness level, giving them a complete awareness of what's possible. Accountability is as it sounds, it's holding the client accountable to actually getting there. And then insights and planning is when you get more analytical, you get more strategic, and you'll be able to leverage the fantastic tools within Futrli to be able to get into the management reports, get into detailed dashboards, and be able to create business models within there and 3-way projections, so that you can really start to build a proper plan with businesses. Now, depending on the level of improvement in profit and cash will probably depend on what level of business advisory service the client will pay for. So you can certainly base it around their improvement in profit and cash, and that's what we suggest that you do in terms of being able to move forward. Stuart, did you want to talk about anything here whilst this is on the screen before I jump back into the suggested packages and pricing?
No. I think the next slide is probably a good next step. I think throughout the discussion, inadvertently, we've actually spoke about a lot of those things throughout the call, and I think it's as you said, there's different stages depending on the skill set within your portfolio, depending on the time and capacity that you have available. But it still comes back to, you have to present the options to your client and give them the ability to make a choice one way or the other. And that's really as difficult as it needs to be. And as you said, I think once they see their own numbers and their scope for improvement, increased profit, increased revenue, whatever's important to them, in relation to why they do what they do, this then becomes the obvious next step in terms of, okay, well, here's where you are, here's where you want to be. This is the level of support that we agree that you need. this is where you would fall in line. Now, here's what you actually get for that. And if you want more, what is the more that you might need? And we may not know today, but in future, at least you know what that increased service level may be. And if there's costs associated with that, you have some visibility on what that may be. And similarly, if you get to a point where, you know, you're doing incredibly well and you don't need as much insight, then, you know, the information is there as well. So yeah, I think it all boils down to having the confidence, but also in yourself, the belief in the firm that you have the skill set and the knowledge and the experience to be able to do all of this at the top end and the low end. It's just about getting started in a way which is scalable and really cost efficient, but also time efficient. Back to the original point, you know, firms at the moment, time is their most limited resource, and it's doing it in a way which is not going to create or increase that as a time as a problem, but actually probably alleviate a lot of the pressure around that, because the work that's being done is a lot more around the strategy and the focus and the growth and the more rewarding work, and less as much about the focus on getting the information through to the governing bodies.
Absolutely. And it's so right. You need to work at your own pace. We actually created something we call the One Clear Path, which is a 90-day program effectively that takes you through in simple steps, high impact, simple steps that you can introduce quickly to get you to this point so that you can introduce it. And we've got a quick 14-day quick start guide for those that are quick to get in and do it. You know, we have some members that do that, and they're very quickly, you know, generating 42K worth of gross recurring fees, which is just phenomenal in 14 days, having those meetings with clients. But for others, 90 days is a more steady approach, and you're able to actually introduce this. And it starts from the top effectively, or you appoint someone who's going to help. You don't have to roll this out immediately. Just start small, get the results, and away you go. And or you can, if you want to roll it out immediately, you can. It's up to you based on how things are with the firm, with your team and your clients. I won't go too much more into this. We've covered this slide already, but just showing that it's based on those 5 levels of advisory. There are 5 different service levels for every single client that you can offer. And it's a recommendation, really. So when the client sees their improvement in profit and in cash that you can help them get, that then it's saying, well, actually, you know, for this 50K improvement in profit, then, you know, we recommend you go onto the Clarity Insights package. How does that sound? You know, you get that opportunity, and that's the cool thing. It really shows the value that you can actually offer your clients, and then why they should be working with you, and that you can help them get to where they want to get to. So just a reminder, the most popular ones are insights and planning. So this is what our members are actually selling to their clients off of the back of conversations using Clarity. And you can see we've got the systems there and the referrals back into Futrli for you to actually be able to deliver these services to your clients. So just as a reminder, what's your success factor? Now, you haven't played with the calculator yet, absolutely not, but you have the opportunity to. We'll share with you in a moment how you can get access to the calculator. But just as a reminder, so this is what's at stake. We've got the old way of working combined with a new way of working that is scalable now. You know, previously it wasn't, and I had that challenge in my firm. It wasn't. Business advisory services weren't scalable, but they now are. We can certainly involve the team and not only make it profitable for the firm, but we can make a huge impact on the clients and help them improve and grow their business. And also our team members feel like they're making a positive impact as well. So we're creating that triple win situation. So this is what's at stake. So I do urge you to use the calculator, look at what your numbers are. If you have questions, you know, get in touch with us. You know, and if you're not sure about something, again, get in touch with us. We're here to help. We're here to help you so you can better help your clients, but more importantly, better help yourself in your own firm to be able to get to these improved numbers. So how you can get this information. So we operate a traffic light system. So green, amber, red. So the idea is we'll have a poll on the screen in a moment so you can let us know where you sit. So the idea here is, if you're green, is that yes, you absolutely understand this. I want to fulfill my firm's potential. I want to see the calculator and put that in because I know that I've got great potential in my firm. I want to run my numbers. I want help delivering that into my firm and also being able to sustainably support my clients. So you'll hit green if that's you. If you're amber, you'll be, well, I'm interested. Yes, I want the calculator. Yes, please. I want to see what my firm potential is. But I'm interested, not quite sure. I have a few questions. I just need a little bit more information. So you'll be amber on the poll if that's you. And then if you're red, it's a case of, well, I've no interest in the calculator. I've no interest in fulfilling my potential, and I'm not interested at all in sustainably helping my clients. So it's entirely up to you where you sit. And I think we'll get the poll fired up on the screen now. Fantastic. So you should see it on your screen. There's 2 questions. So one is for clarity, one is for Futrli. So if you answer those, so green, amber, red, based on where you are, just as a reminder, green is that you want help and you want the calculator first and foremost, and you would like help fulfilling your own firm's potential and being able to sustainably support your clients. Amber is you're interested, so you want the calculator for sure, so you can look at your numbers. You're interested, but you're not sure, have some questions or want more information. And red is that you don't have any interest at all. So if you can go through that, we'll leave that on the screen for another few seconds. Wait for those results to come in.
And just while the audience is going through this exercise, you know, a lot of businesses have some structure already in place for advisory. And what I would say is, if you don't feel like it's working efficiently for you, then there's definitely an opportunity for you to potentially just review what you do and what's not working for you potentially, and look at, you know, alternate arrangements, alternate processes, or even just ask our advice on what we think works or what we know works based on some of our existing clients. Be it individual or mutual contacts that we have, because it's kind of simple science when you actually get down to the nuts and bolts of it. There's just a lot. There's a couple of things you kind of do need to get in line first in order to set yourself up for success, which inevitably is going to have a knock-on effect to the clients that you service.
Absolutely, and something that we actually do see, Stuart, and you probably do too, is that firms have started to implement this. There's not many firms now that haven't started to implement an element of business advisory, and for those that haven't, that's fine. Everyone's on their own journey at their own pace, and this business model change is a fantastic opportunity for them, because they can hit the ground running really quickly and don't have to go through the growing pains that the other firms have. But what we tend to see is the firms that have introduced this, and it was the same in my firm, which was very heavily business advisory based. I couldn't quite get to all clients. I got to about 80% in terms of clients that we were delivering advice to. There were some that I, regardless, I just couldn't service because of time, because of pricing, because of the position of the client. And we now really have that opportunity to service all clients and give them something in a way that's profitable for the firm and rewarding, not just for the team member delivering it, but also for the client as well. So it really does open things up to having 100% of the clients getting something. Business owner clients, obviously, they get something, they get some help, some support that they're paying for in a sustainable way that is able to be delivered by any client-facing member of the team. So it's a fantastic opportunity to move either from 0 and go on that journey to 100%, or from that 10 to 20%, which is probably typical in firms that we speak to. The ones that have already started that journey and come over to clarity, I'm sure you probably see the same with Futrli as well. So there is a huge opportunity there. So I think the poll's off the screen now. Sorry, Stuart, you were going to say something.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, like, again, from speaking with our existing clients and prospective clients and people who are interested, as you said, they're not even on the journey yet. They're still in that, what products should we use? And, we're thinking about moving to 0 or moving from another tool to 0 or whatever, But anything you do today whether you get a result today doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get a result at some stage in the future. If it's 6 to 12 months away, 6 to 12 weeks, providing that your clients know that the services are available, they're less and less likely to be jumping on Google to search for things that they don't know that you're able to offer. And I think this self-reflection exercise, using the clarity that the simple first introduction step within clarity, or if you've already got more established businesses and started to change the way that you service them, with their planning and their scenarios and whatever it is that you're doing, it's a prevention opportunity as well as an opportunity for growth. Prevention of loss, I meant.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Absolutely. I think everyone else did as well, for sure. It's just, limit the downside and then unlimited upside effectively. But it does depend on the firm. Yes, there are differences, but we're here to help. So, any questions, it'd be a good time now to ask if anybody has any questions. I saw some chat coming in already, people saying it was great, thank you. They're having to shoot off, absolutely, no worries at all. So thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat now, or drop them in the Q&A. Do let us know. We'll hang around for a couple of minutes and we can see if anything comes in. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, the contact details are on the screen now. So you feel free to do that. But once you've completed the poll, we certainly will send you that information and the calculator, more importantly, so you can start to play with your numbers. I just got some other messages coming. You're welcome. Thank you very much. Glad you got some great insights. Thank you very much. Awesome. Okay. Well, we don't have any other questions coming in. I can see people dropping off. I think we'll probably wrap things up there. Stuart, if there's anything else you'd like to end with.
No, not at all. In all of these environments, there's always questions that come up after the fact. There's a bit of information we've gone over. But look, thank you very much for the invitation, and I genuinely believe that for everyone in the audience today, start with the self-reflection is absolutely the first step for yourself and your firm. The calculator will help you at least be able to pull up together some numbers for yourself, and then at that stage it's then what do you do from here. So look, thank you. I really hope the information we shared and we discussed was incredibly valuable for you. I appreciate it's late in the day as well. Some people are potentially already in the beers, depending on where they are in the world. But thank you, Stephen, and of course thank you to everyone for joining us. And yeah, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch.
Likewise, Stuart, thank you very much. And we've got Amy behind the scenes. Amy, thank you too as well for helping out on the technical side of things today. And thank you all for joining us. I hope you had a good session. Thank you very much for your comments, and look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you.